Welcome to another episode of Comics from Scratch. So, instead of moving on to a new character, I realized a problem that I had was that the lawyer kind of bought his arms first and did not spend a ton of money on them. So I'd like the arms to be very distinct from the legs, which he gets from his rich employer later on in the story. And I very much want the arms to look like they're nearly falling apart. They could have been made from junk pieces. While the legs, I want to be more consistent. And I'll deal with that later. And I've probably mentioned this before in episodes. I'm not the best at machines unless I'm working from a very direct reference. And so I just try to just do geometric shapes, make sure that it could realistically bend is one of my big ones. So like here I did on the opposite side because the arm needs to bend in. So just little things like that. So even though there's obviously going to be suspension of disbelief because it's a comic, I want to be able to visually recognize that myself to where if I was animating it, I could. Is the logic I went, and so I gave it just a very generic Clawhand, so that it's very simple. It's very functional, and he didn't want anything more than that. And so for the legs, I was kind of deciding what angle. So I know the legs are. Oh, and I just did an outline to see kind of how it would fit in the suit. So the legs are actually from a military robot. So I was thinking of ideas of like if I wanted to make it sleek, if I wanted to make it cyberpunky, and I decided that I wanted. Oh, I must have X'd out the window a couple times by accident. But so I wanted to show more of a kind of almost an 80s mech aesthetic, and so since it's going to be on another character that is a robot, I tried to fit it in as it would on the robot, but then I decided to just focus on the leg later. So I'm going around a bit because this does not come very naturally to me, but I wanted a kind of armored look to it. And so I was trying out a couple things, and I didn't like how this looked. And I had a problem with a couple of the angles. But yeah, so I finally started on this bit where it's kind of this armored plate. There's basically two armored plates, not counting the knee. So there's the kneecap, and then two armored plates on the top and bottom of the legs, and then the rest with the joints. And I didn't want it to be too busy, but then unless you're really going for like a futuristic kind of alien, simplistic view, it just looks kind of weird. Like it looks like a 60s robot where it has weird tinfoil arms and whatnot. So yeah, I was still trying to fit it in, and I'll definitely have to. That'll probably be one of my longer character episodes. Not that I'll necessarily make the video longer. I'd probably just speed it up by a higher multiplying factor. But but I'll probably spend more time on the robot because that is the hardest for me. I can generally draw people very basically, just out of my head, but machines, for whatever reason, elude me. So yeah, I was going through here, and I eventually lengthened the bottom armored plate because it makes the leg look weird and stumpy. I had a lot of problems with the I don't know if you call them shoes, robot feet, because I didn't know if I want them to look similar to shoes, and I didn't know how many segments I wanted. I really didn't like the first design for them, and it's not at the right angle anyway. So kind of a lot of floundering this episode because it's definitely not my element. yeah, I was trying multiple different things. I was trying to see if I could do the foot from a top-down angle, and I wanted to make that shape more distinct, and then I realized I had to make it longer because that leg is very stumpy. Just, it's a process. It's a process, and processes are fine. Sometimes you don't immediately get to the right answer, and in a lot of cases you stumble a lot before you get to the right answer, which this is one of those cases. Yeah, so I got kind of a passable foot design. I mean, it's not very, I wasn't sure how big to make it because I didn't want like giant boots because that seemed kind of unnecessary. But I had them at the same height, attached there, and then I lengthened a little bit and made it so that it connects. It has a few gaps between the pieces. But yeah, so that's the general shape that I'm going. I'll probably redo it, and it's possible that it'll be a complete overhaul eventually. I'm not super stoked on the design as is. Thank you as always to my patron, the Abyss Acolyte and Twitch affiliate, Drivon Kitty, and for the support. It's always appreciated. So this video, the comics from scratch videos, even more so than my other stuff, is very unscripted, and sometimes I don't really know what to say. It's more of just kind of showing my process in this step-by-step way. So I hope you got something from it. I hope you enjoyed it, and like, subscribe, all that kind of stuff if you want to support me. And until next time, viewers.